Hare Krishna. Warm welcome to all of you for today's Gita Live session. The topic for today's discussion is curing the mad mind. Controlling our mind, controlling our thoughts, controlling our attention, a very, very important and integral part of our spiritual growth. Krishna in the Gita says, mind, if it is controlled, is our best friend. Same mind, if it is uncontrolled, is a worst enemy. So it's very important topic what we're going to take up today, and let us start the discussion, understanding of the instructions of Krishna in the Gita on controlling the mind. Let's start with prayers, seeking Lord's blessings, Prabhupada's blessings, so that we can go back with a lot of wonderful insights how we can go about controlling our minds. So in case your circumstances permit, you can kindly fold your hands and repeat after me. Not be in a lead and follow method, but just join me offering these prayers, and we can together offer these prayers and then start the discussion. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmane Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Saptakanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today's discussion on curing the mad mind, broadly speaking, we will have four broad categories. First, we'll talk about what is mind. In this yantra, mind body system, what role is mind playing? What exactly is mind? We'll understand that. Second, why we have used this word called mad mind. Why, in one sense, we can say our mind in our present condition is mad. Although it's a negative term, but why we have used this word called mad mind, we'll talk about that. Second, this is the second subject. Third, we'll talk about what is the cure? How do we purify? How do we tame our mind? How do we make mind our best friend? Krishna says, mind, if it is our friend, if it is tamed, is our best friend. The same mind, if it is untamed, is the worst enemy. So how do we tame our mind so that it acts like our friend? And last, we will talk about some practical tips in our day-to-day life, how we can lead our lives, some do's and don'ts which will help us purify our mind, tame our mind, control our minds better. So these are the four subjects what we're going to cover today. So let us start the discussion with what is mind. In Hindi we use the word man. मेरा मन बहुत विचलित है. My mind is very disturbed. I am not feeling good. So in the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, Krishna brings about the understanding of the soul, the Atma, which is the real self, who is the real, so to say, occupier of this body. And this soul has a subtle body, Sukshma Sharira, which is made of Manas, Buddhi and Ahankara, mind, intelligence and false ego. So there is Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, and then there is a gross body, which is made of Panchabhuta, earth, air, water, fire and ether. So broadly speaking, the Atma is there and there is a covering which is the Sukshma Sharira. We call it Sukshma because we cannot see our intelligence, although we know that yes, intelligence is there. We cannot see our mind, although we know, we say, use the term like my mind is disturbed. So that's why it's called Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. And then there is a gross body which is made of 5 elements. So this mind is part of the Sukshma Sharira. And mind is also, what role is the mind playing in the Sukshma Sharira? It is generating thoughts. In that sense, mind can be compared to a thought factory. Just like, let's say in a soap factory, the production of soaps happen. Likewise, our mind is generating different thoughts. On an average day, an average person, again, it might vary from person to person. It might vary from, the same person on different days, depending on how our mind, whether mind is calm or it's agitated. On an average day, an average person thinks 60,000 thoughts in a day. It's a huge number, 60,000 thoughts in a day. Now, somebody may say, oh, so many thoughts. That's not the point which we have to be concerned about. It is said that on an average, 77% of what we think, that means 77% of the 60,000 thoughts. Again, it might vary from person to person. Some people, by and large, are very negative, are always brooding, complaining, and some people have a very positive outlook. So it might vary from person to person, but on an average, 77% of what we think, that means 77% of those 60,000 thoughts are negative and counterproductive. And they say majority of illnesses is related to our mind. Because we worry too much, we are at times anxious, we think a lot. The term used is psychosomatic diseases. Even doctors, when we go and when we meet a doctor, says, "Aap chinta mat kijiye, Swamiji, chinta mat kijiye." Or they, when they diagnose, "Chinta mat kijiye." More so in present times, there's a lot of uncertainty, so people, it is natural to be anxious. So 77% of what we think is negative and counterproductive, and most of the illnesses are because of the mind. Mind keeps generating thoughts day and night, day and night. Even at times when we are on the bed sleeping, our mind is generating thoughts. It's compared to a wild horse. Typically horse runs quite fast. A wild horse, imagine, keeps running, running, running at a huge speed. Day and night, our mind runs like a wild horse. Even at times when we are lying on the bed, these days, a lot of people are having issues with sleep. They're lying on the bed but tossing and turning. I was just reading an article which says among the top selling drugs, among the top 3 or 4, it's a drug which is to do with inducing sleep and tranquilizers. The top being Ambien, Valium, these are all top selling drugs. In the US alone, last year about 40 million prescriptions of Ambien, which is a drug which is to induce sleep, people having insomnia. There could be various reasons, but it's all to do with mind. Mind is not in our control. We are on the bed, we want to sleep, we know sleep is important for our health, to get good quality sleep, but we're not able to sleep. Mind is generating thoughts. We are living in a technologically advanced world. We have sent satellites in space, and sitting here remotely, we can control those satellites. In fact, in our houses also, for all the gadgets now, we have remote controls. We can control the AC, we can control the television, we can control different gadgets. But more and more we are technologically advancing, the more and more we are losing control over our own minds, our own senses. That's how you see these days people having hypertension, blood pressure, anxiety attacks, not able to sleep, lot of stress, lot of anxiety, lot of people are worried about so many things. All this is to do with the mind which is part of the Sukshma Sharira. Now in the Gita, Krishna extensively talks about mind, controlling the mind, controlling the senses. In fact, Krishna talks about Ashtanga Yoga, where he says that a yogi should go to a secluded place, sit erect, close his eyes, and try to control the mind, follow strict celibacy. He gives different recommendations. And after hearing all of them, Arjuna says, Krishna, it's very difficult for me. Mind you, this was 5,000 years back, when the times were much more conducive, much more peaceful. Unlike present times, we are distracted so much. Social media, WhatsApp, so many things which pull our attention. So Arjuna told Krishna, Chanchala hi mana Krishna. Oh Krishna, Mind is chanchala. Chanchala means it's very, very difficult to control. And then he says, maybe it's possible to control a raging wind, just like this super cyclone which came, and a lot of devastation happened in Odisha and in Kolkata. We saw that a lot of big trees got uprooted, and electric poles got, so to say, damaged. It says maybe you can control a hurricane, super cyclone. Again, it's very difficult. Even just 2 days back, when this people were evacuated, can't do much about it. You can just try to try your best to minimize the damage, but you can't really stop it. So maybe you can control a super cyclone, a wind, but you cannot control the mind. It's difficult to control the mind. So nevertheless, there is a hope with practice by following the principles which Krishna has taught in the Gita, Jnana and Vairagya, by practicing some element of detachment, it is possible to control the mind, to make mind our friend. So today we'll be talking about how do we go about. Before we get into that part, how to cure the mad mind, what are the practical options we have, what are the practical do's and don'ts which we can follow in our day-to-day life, let's understand another analogy which is given in our scriptures. Very beautiful, very wonderful, very nice analogy. And let us spend some time having a good understanding of this analogy. We will understand what's the present day challenge which people are facing and what's the root cause of that challenge. Hypertension, blood pressure, anxiety attacks, not able to control. We are helplessly worrying. We know that it is wrong. We have heard many times it won't solve the problem, but we can't help it. So mind, the overall mind-body system is compared to a chariot driven by 5 horses. Now visualize a chariot driven by 5 horses. These days we don't see chariots in cities, but nevertheless, in the Gita you have seen that cover page picture where Krishna is there, Arjuna is there, and the chariot is there, and the horses are there. So visualize a chariot driven by 5 horses. So in this example, these horses represent our 5 senses. 5 horses represent our 5 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. These are the 5 senses. So these 5 horses represent the 5 senses. Now, in that chariot, there's a chariot driver who is, controlling the horses and making the chariot move from point A to point B, from the source to the destination. That chariot driver is compared to our intelligence. And the chariot driver is controlling the horses using the reins. And those reins are compared to our mind. And there is a passenger sitting in that chariot. And that passenger is compared to soul, the Atma, the real self. So very simple an example. Chariot, which compares to our mind-body system. The 5 horses represents our 5 senses. The chariot driver represents our intelligence. Using intelligence, we drive things, we make the choices, we discriminate, we choose what to do, what not to do, what to eat, what not to eat. And the intelligence acts on the mind, on the senses, directs the senses using the mind, just like the chariot driver uses the reins to control the horses. And we have the soul as the passenger. So four important elements in this example: the senses, the mind, the intelligence, and the passenger in the chariot. Now, in a typical scenario where a chariot is moving from point A to point B, or let's take this example of in present day scenario, Uber taxi or Ola cabs. Let's say a person wants to go from point A to point B. He books the cab, the person books the cab, the driver, the cab comes to that required starting point, pickup point, and the person gets in. And these days through app you can say where you want to go, so the driver knows it. Otherwise, in a typical cab, you can tell the driver, I want to go to the airport, or I want to go to so and so place. So the instruction comes from the passenger. Passenger instructs the driver. Driver in turn controls the steering wheel, steers the wheels, and makes the vehicle move in the direction of the destination which the passenger has chosen. Passenger has said, I want to go to the airport. The driver is not aimlessly, whimsically moving. He moves from point A to point B based on the instruction what he has received from the passenger. Because after all, passenger is paying for that drive. This cab is meant for ferrying people from point A to point B. It's not meant to be just be driving on the road whimsically, aimlessly. So the passenger tells the driver in turn steers the vehicle, and the vehicle moves in the direction of the destination which the passenger wants to go, the place where he wants to go. And the passenger has the satisfaction that yes, very soon I will be at my destination. Even though there is some element of inconvenience during the ride, some bumps, or maybe whatever inconvenience, he is very, very happy about the fact that it is moving in towards the destination and very soon he will be getting down. So the flow of command is from the passenger to the driver to the steering wheel to the wheels and the vehicle moving towards the destination. So likewise, in this example of mind-body system, the right scenario, the ideal scenario, the best scenario is the soul, who is the passenger, instructs the driver, who is the intelligence, and driver or the intelligence in turn instructs the mind, which in turn instructs the senses, is the horses. The flow of command should be from the soul to the intelligence, intelligence to the mind, mind to the senses. But in present time, because of no proper systematic spiritual training, spiritual knowledge dissemination, with no understanding of importance of controlling the mind, controlling the senses, in our present scenarios, all our senses and mind are untamed, are unruly, because whenever the senses come in touch with the sense object, there is some sensation of pleasure. For example, when a person eats something which is very palatable, very nice, very tasty, there is a sensation of pleasure called sensual pleasures. When a person hears something which is quite melodious sound, there is a sensation of pleasure. So each sense is in present time looking for sense objects. Each sense is trying to look for sense objects. And because the intelligence is not sharp, What is right, what is wrong, what I should be dabbling in, what I should not be dabbling in, what I should be eating, what I should not be eating, what I should be seeing, what I should not be seeing, what is in my self-interest. Because that sharp spiritual intelligence is not there, our present senses are compared to untamed, unruly horses. Visualize a chariot driven by 5 horses. Horses are untamed, unruly, each one trying to pull the chariot in different directions. The chariot is moving, but the whole chariot is wobbling. And any moment, the chariot can skid off the road or meet with an accident. Now visualize in such a scenario where all the horses are going wild, each one trying to pull the chariot in different direction, and the chariot driver has lost control over the horses. He's trying his best to control the horses, but he's not able to control. And the passenger sitting in the chariot, he's having a very, very difficult ride. He's panicking. Imagine you are in a car and the driver loses control over the brakes fail. Imagine a chariot person will be very worried. Any moment the chariot can skid off the road and meet with an accident. And this is predominantly the reason why people are having anxiety attacks, hypertension, blood pressure. Senses are not in control. Mind is not in control. And people mess up their lives. In the US, major problem today government is facing is teenage pregnancies. I was reading an article which talks about, because of COVID-19, 3 lakh, about 3.5 lakh people have died the world over. It's a huge number. And that's how people are, governments are concerned, countries are concerned, how to minimize, how we can protect from that infection so that there are minimum deaths, how people can be protected, how we can protect ourselves. Everyone is talking about this. In a year, about 40 to 50 million abortions happen every year. That's how many countries have this debate going on. Should we legalize abortion? Some countries have legalized abortion, irrespective of number of months, and some countries have not. Because there is a child which has got developed beyond a certain point during pregnancy. 40 to 50 million abortions in a year, which amounts to about 1,25,000 abortions every day. Isn't it a consequence of uncontrolled senses, uncontrolled mind? Senses want pleasure, we go for it, and leads to pregnancy, which we don't want, and get aborted, get the child aborted. In one sense, it's a kind of murder, because that embryo, after a certain stage, is conscious. The Atma is already there. Suicides. Another article talks about every year about 1 million, 8 lakh people commit suicide. About 30% of them is in India and China. And 20 times, suppose let's say 1 million people commit suicide, 20 times more people have attempted. Not everyone who attempts suicide is successful in ending their lives. Why do a person take such an extreme step? They say, Garud Purana says that the pain a person experiences at the point of death when he is dying, so excruciating. It's like 42,000 scorpions biting simultaneously. Although we haven't in cities heard of scorpion bites, but in villages, scorpion bites is still common. And it seems that people don't die necessarily because of the venom which is there in scorpion bite, because of the pain. So imagine a person wanting to put an end to his life. That means the agony, the pain which he is going through, much more than the pain a person experiences at the point of death. Where everything what you have done so painstakingly, all what you have acquired, all your wealth, all your properties, all your degrees, all your qualification is ripped apart, is taken away. People do that. Why do they take extreme steps? Because they have messed up their life for whatever reason. I don't want to get into details. And if we do root cause analysis, it will be something to do with mind, something to do with the senses. Got into some affair, there was a breakup. Why an affair? Because the senses demanded some pleasure. And then suddenly there was some heartbreak, and then person resorts to an extreme step of putting an end to his life. Therefore, many places in the Gita, Krishna talks about, just like a tortoise, gives an example of a tortoise, how whenever the tortoise, it withdraws back its limbs. Likewise, yogi, yes, we need to eat, we need to see things. Senses are not just meant to, close down and be inert. There is a proper use of the senses. But overindulgence in sense gratification and making that as a goal of life, as the primary source of our pleasure and happiness, thinking that if I indulge more and more, if I gratify my senses more and more, I'll become more and more happy. That's how in present day society, in modern so-called advanced world, our understanding of happiness is, our understanding of advancement means how we can gratify our senses more and more gorgeously, more elaborately. How we can see, we have these days 400 channels, 500 channels. Tell what you want to see and it's right there in front of you. Just press some three buttons on your remote control and you can see. You want to see football, you want to see cricket, you want to see a movie, you want to see a drama, you want to see this, and intelligent people are working behind the scenes to make that happen. You can eat, just order something on on your app. Next 20 minutes, whatever you want to eat from different stores in the city, food will land up in your house. But behind the scenes, so many people are working, whole industry is working to ensure that sense gratification happens in a royal way. So in the Vedic times, understanding that there is an importance, more so in human form of life, to regulate the senses, to control the senses, control the mind. The first training a child would get is brahmacharya. Control the mind, control the senses. In other words, if we were to divide life 100 years into 4 parts, first 25 years, the first part of life would be all about training to control the mind, control the senses. And as I mentioned, there is sense gratification within, has some role to play. It's not that senses are meant to be just remain inert. There is a grahastha ashrama. And after having got this training of controlling the mind, controlling the senses, a person would enter a grahastha ashrama, and with that understanding, with that intelligence, with that spiritual intelligence, why it is important to control the mind, control the senses, one would dabble in worldly pleasures. But because he has that sharp intelligence, the spiritual wisdom, he will not get completely, he will not be reckless in his desire to pursue happiness with sense gratification as the main source. So, in the chariot example we talked about, we can also take another example to understand this whole scheme of things. Just like in a company, typically you have a CEO, Chief Executive Officer, who is at the helm of affairs, and then below him, depending on the size of the company, there could be many grades, many bands. But typically, let's say a small organization, you have a CEO, then you have managers, and then in each vertical, there are some supervisors who are supervising various activities. And then there are workers. Just for the discussion's sake, let's take a organization with simple hierarchy where we have the CEO, we have the managers, we have the supervisors, and we have the workers. Now, for a well-oiled, well-run, efficiently run organization, it is important that the CEO who is at the helm is strong and powerful. He is in control of things. He gives his vision. He, again, it could be collaborative, it could be participative management, but he sets the vision, mission, and the goals, the priorities for the organization. And once that is done, he shares that with his managers. And the manager runs the operation, supervises whatever is happening in the company through the supervisors, using that vision which has come from the top, the board, the CEO. And the workers down the line just obey the commands which they have received and they execute it. In a company where the workers become very, very powerful and the management at the top is weak, there is a possibility that the demands of the worker can become, so to say, not justified, and at times there could be companies which can end up in lockdown, in strikes, and not being run efficiently. So likewise, in this mind-body system, the soul is like the CEO. This intelligence is like the managers. This mind is like the supervisor. And the senses are like the worker. The soul should be at the helm. That's why Krishna in the Gita talks about control the lower self by the higher self. These are lower self, the senses, the mind. Physical self, the mental self, the intellectual self, and the spiritual self. So there's a hierarchy. There's an Atma, which is like the CEO, who is the owner of the body, the occupier, the Kshetragna. But right now, our intelligence is weak. There is no spiritual intelligence, because of which our mind is untamed, unruly. It is generating different kinds of thoughts, different desires. We're not able to discriminate what is in our self-interest. Tongue is demanding different things to eat. Eyes are demanding different things to view, to watch. Many of them are not in our self-interest. And as a result, many people get addicted to wrong things. So that's why instructions of Gita, a lot of people think Gita is all about post-retirement study. After 65 years, 70 years, once you have settled up, all your so-called material duties are done, your grandchildren have got married, you have no other responsibilities left, you have plenty of time at your disposal, then you can peacefully sit and read Bhagavad Gita. No. Bhagavad Gita is is showing us practically how we can control the mind, how we can control the senses. Because we have uncontrolled mind, uncontrolled senses, we are messing up things. Again, we have, these days, rape cases on the rise. We had Nirbhaya case recently; those 4 of them were hanged. Again, unruly minds, unruly senses. We have big scams happen, millions of dollars. Many companies gets closed, many banks gets, so to say, affected. Uncontrolled mind, uncontrolled sense. So Gita is very practically giving us what's the root cause of our problems, our miseries. And if you do root cause analysis of many so-called scams, many so-called crimes, many so-called people messing up their lives, so-called health problems, you will see it's to do with the mind and the senses. These days people have a lot of health issues. Again, uncontrolled tongue. Can't control their eating. Junk food. It's tasty, it's good for the tongue. Can't help it. And mess up their health. So if we do root cause analysis, it's all boiling down to controlling the mind, controlling the senses. And Gita is giving practical instructions. Krishna is saying from the very beginning, regulate your senses. The senses, mind and intelligence are sitting places of lust. He gives the example of tortoise, how the tortoise, whenever needed, it will withdraw it will use its limbs, and where required, there's a danger, it pulls back. So that way, Gita is a wonderful, wonderful instructions from the Lord meant for our day-to-day living. It's very, very important. Just like in the chariot example, it's very important to have the horses which are in the control of the chariot driver. It's very important in a taxi to have good control over the steering wheel on the whole vehicle and move from destination A to destination B. So having talked about the importance of what is mind, why it is important to tame the mind, to control the mind. As I mentioned, 77% of what we think an average man is negative and counterproductive. It's not in our self-interest. Our mind is not in our control. Day and night it's producing thoughts. That's how many so-called present day challenges which people are facing, not able to sleep, not able to control their thoughts, depression, anxiety, hypertension, blood pressure, all to do with mind. So now coming to the solution, having talked quite a bit about the negative aspects, how uncontrolled mind can lead to a lot of complications in our life. Now let's talk about the solution. Let's be solution oriented. Okay. So broadly speaking, all the methods for controlling the mind, if you Google mind control or controlling the mind or controlling the thoughts, there will be innumerable websites, innumerable videos on how to control the mind, how to control the thoughts, how to relax the mind. Broadly speaking, only there are 3 categories of suggestions or remedies or solutions. First is the physical methods of mind control. I'll briefly talk about what these methods are, and then I will tell you the limitations of each of those methods. So first broad category of solution being offered or being suggested by different people, by different websites, in different videos is physical methods. It's to do with asanas, exercises, physically using our body, sitting in a particular posture, pranayama, controlling our breath. All these can help us control our mind, to relax our mind, to make our mind peaceful. So they are broadly classified in a category called physical methods of mind control. If we do exercises, we, let's say, go for a jog, or we use a treadmill, we sweat, our we our cardiovascular exercises we do, we perspire, we sweat, and we feel good about it. Later on we feel good, we feel relaxed, all the stress seems to have gone, our mind becomes peaceful. These are physical methods. And then the second category, the broad category, is the mental methods. Mental method involves positive self-talk. In this you have things like affirmations. Affirmations, some of you might have heard about, is like repeating positive statements yourself, with the understanding that they can seep into our subconscious mind. We have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. Subconscious mind controls a lot of our choices we make in our daily life. Many times we know that I shouldn't be doing this, but helplessly we do, because again, the subconscious mind, what programming has happened in the past, very difficult to change. Habits gets formed, they are stored in the subconscious mind. So mental method involves affirmations, positive self-talk, and yes, they also do play a role in controlling the mind. Or there could be various relaxation methods. These days, if you go on the net, there are various audio programs, there are various subliminal talks, there are some audio tracks with some frequencies where you just put your headphones and the brain vibrations. There is theta waves, the beta waves, the alpha waves, the brain vibration, the mind can just relax. Or for that matter, meditation, person is sitting with eyes closed, there's some kind of a relaxation which he is aiming for, also comes under mental methods. So the physical methods, which talked about exercises, pranayama, breath control, and then we have the mental methods. And the third category is called spiritual methods. Bhagavad Gita is full of, replete with many instructions. Instructions from none other than the Lord Himself, the creator of this world, the creator of this mind, the creator of this body, who knows this yantra very well, who has created this yantra. He is suggesting what you should do to control the mind, to control the senses. Imagine I am using, let's say, a laptop from IBM or let's say Apple, and I get a manual, I get their official website where all the instructions are given. What could be a better way of figuring out how to use that product than from the manufacturer himself? So instruction from the manufacturer of the mind, of this body, is coming from Lord Himself. And that's how we have scriptural methods or spiritual methods. Every scripture of the world, irrespective of the religion, whether it's Hinduism or Christianity or Islam or any other religion, have instructions on how to control the mind, how to control the sense. Every religion. Leading an unregulated life with uncontrolled mind, with uncontrolled senses, one cannot lead a progressive and meaningful life. Not possible. The details may vary from religion to religion, from a scripture to another scripture. At times there may be some contradictory instruction, but principle is how to regulate, how to control, that's how every religion have a concept of fasting, different austerities, different penances, different do's and don'ts. It's all about how we can regulate our lives, regulate our senses, regulate our mind. So now today I will give you a practical demonstration of how different methods work, and also I will share with you the limitations of these methods and what is the most easiest, practical and the recommended method for this present age, the age of Kali, the Kali Yuga. So I'll give you this demonstration. Let's say here this glass of water represents our mind. Right now you can see this, it's filled with water and the water is practically clean. So this water represents our pure mind where full of sublime thoughts, pure thoughts, spiritual thoughts, good thoughts, enlivening thoughts, positive thoughts. That's the state which this present glass with this clean water is representing. This is far, far away from our present state. Our mind is filled with lust, greed, envy, jealousy, pride, different desires, काम, क्रोध, lobh. So here what I'll do is I will take this mud, some bit of, and I add this. Here you see this glass has this mud dissolved. Now our mind can have different kinds of impurities. Now this is representing our present state of mind with all the impurities. And purification of consciousness, purification of the mind, as I said, it's a very, very important aspect of our spiritual growth. If we have to aim for self-realization, understand the higher concepts, understand about God, understand our relationship with God, we have to purify our mind, purify our senses. Now, if the assignment is in this present scenario, if I have to purify this water, which represents our present impure mind, how do we go about? Now you see the lot of particles which are dissolved in this water. I mentioned about physical methods. I mentioned about mental methods. If we have to purify this water, one suggestion could be, one possible scenario would be that I keep this glass undisturbed. Some relaxation methods which comes under the category of mental methods. Or for that matter, a lot of people resort to Mauna Vrata, not speaking for a day, couple of days, or many days at a time. In other words, do not agitate the mind. If I leave this glass undisturbed, let's say for a day, 24 hours, or let's say 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, what will happen is all that which is dissolved in this, all the impurities, slowly, slowly, little by little start settling down. Even now you can see here some impurities or some of the dust has got settled down in the bottom of the glass. Now take a scenario, if I keep this glass undisturbed for let's say 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, there is a good possibility that all that which is dissolved gets settled down and the water becomes completely pure. That's how many times by people practicing relaxation or pranayama or doing exercises, momentarily there is a good feeling. A person is feeling that he has become, so to say, relaxed, mind has become, so to say, clean, his worry, his anxiety, his stress is gone. But then what happens is this does not last because the impurities are still there. Let's say a person practices nice, maybe he goes for a retreat, 2 days, 3 days, he practices Mauna Vrata, and then feels very good. The agitations have all subsided, the mind has become clean, he's feeling very good. And Monday morning he goes back to the office and he meets all his teammates, his boss, and in some meeting, you know some interaction happens which is not very nice interaction. Some scolding happens, somebody criticizes that person. What happens is the spoon goes in and again the mind gets agitated. All that which had subsided, because it had not got, so to say, uprooted, all the impurities have not got uprooted or moved from that mind, the mind can again get agitated and we can be back to square one. Many times people start practicing meditation, but they see that for 2 days, 3 days they practice, they feel good about it, but then they see that when they go back to the real world, and face real challenges, it almost negates all what they have achieved in their meditation. All that calm, all that peace, what they had accomplished, all goes down the drain. So that's how many people thinking that it's futile, it's waste of time. I'm spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes relaxing, and then my mind becomes peaceful, and then when I step in the real world, again the mind gets agitated. What's the use? We are all hard pressed for time. So somebody may say, why waste 15 minutes also? Let me use that time for something else. Now coming back to this particular example, if we have to purify the water in this glass permanently, what should we do? Like we talked about, one option, we leave the glass undisturbed. All that impurities will settle down. But as I mentioned that there will be a lot of things happening in our life, lot of events, lot of circumstances which will rattle us. Let's say death of near and dear one. A person is otherwise very peaceful, he is quite relaxed, but suddenly the death of a near and dear one is completely shattered. For days together the mind is disturbed. He is not able to bear the pain. So what should we do that we can have permanent, lasting purification of the mind? So one easy and simple method to purify the water, we can no doubt, because we have limited time, one easy and simple method would be, I can add more water to this glass. Now what is happening is, all the impurities, all the dust particles which are dissolved in this glass, in this water, are overflowing out. If I continue doing this on a regular basis, practically every day, a time will come when the water becomes pure. No doubt you cannot avoid agitations in life. People will make sarcastic remarks. People will scold you at times for no fault of yours. You may have to get into altercations, fights, or at times interactions which are not very palatable. It's like you're getting agitated. But because intrinsically the water is pure, there is intrinsically impurity is not there. Intrinsically that lust, greed, pride, envy, jealousy has got uprooted from the mind-body system. We are clean, we are pure. We are not disturbed. We are calm. Now take this example. Now there are still some impurities. It's not that it's become permanently pure. But what if we on a regular basis keep adding fresh water here? A time will come when this glass is filled with pristine, clear, pure water. Then in that case, you keep on agitating as much as you want. Let people say anything. Let any calamity happen. The person will not be disturbed. Because disturbed mind is compared to a dirty water. Because intrinsically the mind has become pure. So this is an example of how we can purify the mind. Now, $1,000,000 question. Okay, here in this example, water, pure clean water represented our mind. We added fresh water and the water got displaced and all the impurities also got displaced and the fresh water got filled and the water became pure. Now, in case of our mind, what is that fresh water which we can add from outside which will purify the mind? What is that fresh water? Again, because we have limited time, let me share with you. Broadly speaking, there are two things we can do. Broadly speaking, two things. Although again, there are many, if you break down further, there could be many subcategories, many this thing. Broadly speaking, two things if we can do, we can purify our minds, which is equivalent to putting that fresh water from outside. First is input spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge, or Divya Gyan. What Krishna is sharing with all of us, what Srila Prabhupada is sharing with us in his books is Divya Gyan, is transcendental knowledge. It is knowledge which is not man-made, made by some conditional soul which is prone to mistakes, errors. There are a lot of philosophers, a lot of people have written many books. But because these are words spoken by self-realized souls, by Lord Himself, these words have stood the test of time. So when on a daily basis we expose ourselves to this transcendental wisdom, this knowledge, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Nitya means daily. Bhagavata, by serving Bhagavata, by hearing Bhagavata, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Nashta prayeshu, all the dirty things, all the misgivings, all the wrong understanding we have, all the wrong perceptions we have, all the wrong ideas we have of what is right, what is wrong, all will get clarified. We'll have the right understanding, we'll have the right discrimination, we'll have the intelligence to make the right choices. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. By hearing Bhagavatam daily, all the dirty things, just like here, by putting the water, all the dirt got removed from that glass. The water became pure. Likewise, our mind will also become pure. So one practical thing is, that's why it says sadhu sangha, sarva shastra say. We should associate with sadhus, saintly people, self-realized souls. Read daily Srila Prabhupada's books. Read daily Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. It will strengthen our intelligence. It will cleanse our mind permanently. So that's the first method, first thing which we can do. So the fresh water getting added, it's like the Divya Gyan, transcendental knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Second thing which especially is recommended for this present age, the age of Kali. This present age, a lot of distraction. We're living in a fast-paced, we have limited time. Yes, we can always aspire that I will read 1 hour, 2 hours, but then be hard-pressed for time. In this age of Kali, the second method which is strongly recommended for every person to purify the mind is to chant the names of the Lord, the holy names of the Lord. It is said, Kali Kale Nam Roop Avatar. The Lord has descended in the form of his names. This chanting of the holy names is also called mantra meditation, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This word mantra is composed of two syllables, man and tra. Man means mind, tra means to deliver, to purify. When we chant the names of the Lord, which is Lord who is all pure, the names of the Lord which is invested with all his energies, Sat, Chit and Ananda, when we touch the Lord in the form of his name, by chanting and hearing those names, Prabhupada gives an example, just like iron rod, when you put in fire, it becomes red hot. Keep it in fire, it almost acts like fire. It takes the quality of the fire. It also becomes red hot. You can touch that iron rod to a piece of paper and it can start burning. So likewise, when we on a daily basis touch the Supreme Lord who has come in the form of his holy name, the Lord who is all pure, the Lord who is all powerful, the Lord who has many energies, Sat, Chit, Ananda, we are looking for pleasure. And the Lord is reservoir of pleasure, unlimited Ananda. When we touch the Lord and that Ananda starts flowing into our mind-body system, when that real knowledge, Chit, starts flowing into a system, it can remove all the agyan, all the misgiving, all the wrong ideas, all the wrong paradigms, all the misconceptions what we have. The greatest misconception what we have is I am the body. My happiness means gratify the senses more and more. It's a misconception. It is Maya. So all that misgivings, mystically, because Lord is all powerful. When that mantra enters our ears, goes into our heart, all the churning starts, just like that water falling into that glass, all that impure water starts coming out, and then you're left with pure water. So likewise, when this mantra goes through our ears by attentive chanting and hearing, when that mantra goes, that sound vibration, which is none other than Lord himself, goes into our heart, displaces all the impurities, all the misgiving. So two simple things. Again, yes, on one side we can add fresh water, but yes, it is very important that we do not add more mud into it. There is a possibility that we are adding fresh water, simultaneously we are adding more mud or dirt into the water. Then the purification will get delayed, or at times, who knows, in spite of adding fresh water, there will be no purification. So Prabhupada in his books, many places, talks about chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He says that I have written these books not just to sell and make money. He would get up at 1 o'clock in the night and transcribe these books at the age when he was 75, 80 years, so that we all can benefit from this transcendental wisdom, this knowledge of Gita. Out of compassion, he has written these books so that we can benefit from this knowledge. So when we read these books, when we chant the holy names of the Lord, the purification will happen. And Prabhupada very emphatically said, while we are chanting, while we are doing this, we should also follow the 4 regulative principles. Breaking those regulative principles are like putting the dirt into that water. Prabhupada talks about the 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. So if we want to purify our mind, purify our senses, we should read Gita, we should associate with devotees, we should hear about the Lord, we should chant the names of the Lord, and broadly speaking, there are many do's and don'ts. Broadly speaking, we should avoid meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. And this process is not a newly invented, newly, so to say, recommendation or prescription. The age-old, tested, time-tested process of purification. Since centuries, since millennia, since generations, this process is being followed, and many great sages have got purified. Many people who are spiritual seekers have got purified by following this process, chanting the names of the Lord, associating with the devotees, hearing the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and following those principles. And then once our mind gets pure, we can experience genuine happiness, genuine pleasure. Then we can, in fact, people are seeking that, spiritual life is all about do's and don'ts, and live bindas, just enjoy life. Actually, just to even enjoy life, you have to be intelligent. What if momentarily you enjoy life and then you mess up your life? What Krishna is not telling us, do not enjoy life. Spiritual life is not about do not enjoy life, just suffer and aim for moksha. Spiritual life is all about how to be genuinely happy, how to pursue that happiness which lasts. So we'll stop with this. It's already 5:40. We'll take some questions now. So we have this question from Chandrasekhar. Do I need to suffer the reactions of the actions done by my mind? If yes, is there a difference in the magnitude of the reactions for the actions done by working senses versus my mind? We should not discriminate. Let's say this reaction or this action is done by my mind or by senses. They are working as one unit. As I said, mind is the master of the senses. So we all end up doing many wrong things because of various reasons. As I mentioned, we have lust, greed, pride, envy, jealousy. There are various reasons because of which we act sinfully. Without getting into details, let's understand that we have to purify, burn all those reactions, and going forward not commit sinful deeds. And the process what I have recommended or acharyas have recommended is a process to follow. So I don't think that it will make sense to discriminate it's because of mind or because of sense. This question is from Anil Bhargav. How to have a meditative mind always with Krishna consciousness at center, even doing any work in material life? Is it possible to segregate mind into two halves at a time, material half and spiritual half? It's a very good question. Yes, it is possible. There was one question asked to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said that what is the most important duty for a householder? In other words, a person who is leading a life, he has some material duties, he has a family to take care of. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Asat Sangha Tyaga I Vaishnava Acharya. Asat Sangha Tyaga. He should give up Asat Sangha and seek, look for positive association or satsang. Just like now, today we are having Gita live session. It is satsang. When you read Bhagavad Gita, that's satsang. You are associating with the truth, the reality. So when we have sufficiently done satsang and we have avoided asatsanga, then with this knowledge, it is possible to maintain the consciousness of Krishna in the background while we are doing our daily duties. I gave example in the last class when a boy is in love with a girl. Then while the boy is engaged in various duties, back of the mind is thinking of his beloved. So it is technically possible. Likewise, when we have done sufficient satsanga and we have avoided asatsanga, then with that cultivation of Krishna consciousness by chanting the names of the Lord, by reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, it is possible to be conscious of the Lord while we are engaged in our different worldly duties. That's why Prabhupada called this movement as International Society for Krishna Consciousness. How we can be conscious of Krishna always. This question is from Anuresh Sinha. Okay, this is all about audio being thing. That's, I think, fixed. This question is from Pooja Vijayaraj. How to stop envying others and comparing our own lives with that of other lives? As I mentioned, one of the impurity of the mind is jealousy, envy. In this example, we talked about different impurities. We added that dust or mud. It can be of different types. Some are soluble, some are insoluble. So impurities are of different types: lust, greed, pride, envy, jealousy. And when we tread this path of purification by chanting, hearing, and all that, just like when we drop the water, we did not go impurity by impurity. It just, irrespective what kind of impurity was there in the water, it got just completely got eliminated. So likewise, we may have different impurities. Somebody may be greedy, somebody may be very lusty, is not able to control his lusty desires. The solution is simple. Sometimes people may be put off. With whatever problem we go, you're saying simple, same thing, read Gita, chant the names of Krishna. That's a fact. That's a fact. Irrespective of our impurities, the solution is the same. Process of purification is the same. So if you are seeking how not to be envious of others, jealous of others, we have to aim for purification of mind, and the process is the same. Chant the names of the Lord, satsanga, associate with the devotees, read Bhagavad Gita daily. All the impurities will be wiped away. This question is from Manikant Shendre. This is off-topic question. Please clarify. If our lives have been predestined, then how should devotees' thought process should be on planning life's future? Again, since we have not discussed this topic in this particular session, I can just briefly touch, because I won't be able to do justice because of limited time we have. Everything is not predestined. And although, yes, there is, based on our karmic reactions, some enjoyment, some suffering is destined, but we can change our destiny by making the right choices, by doing the right things in the present. We can change our destiny by doing the right things. Chanting the names of the Lord, by making that choice. We have a choice, chant or not to chant. We have a choice whom to associate with. You have a choice today to attend this session or just switch off and watch something else. This is the choices we make in the present, we are changing our destiny. This question is from Manish Kumar. This might be a difficult question to answer, but I want to ask about phone addiction. It's running all of us. How can we overcome this addiction? Please answer. Any addiction for that matter starts from our desire to seek pleasure. That is the quality of the soul. Anandamayo bhyasat. And there's nothing wrong about it. Even a person watches phone, he's getting some pleasure. Otherwise, why is he spending time? He's getting pleasure. And at times, a person is guilty. He knows that he should not be doing it. He knows that it is not the right thing. But he can't help because that is the source of pleasure. So as I said, we all are pleasure-seeking beings. But because we are not experiencing genuine pleasure, real pleasure, if a person has not eaten anything for days together, he'll eat any damn thing because he's hungry. So Krishna in the Gita says, Raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. When we try to control the senses by repression, it doesn't work, it doesn't last. If you say, I will not see, I will not see, I will not see, that resolution will not last. But raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. But when we start experiencing real pleasure, real taste, real happiness, real joy in association with the Lord, then those taste pales off. In other words, if a person wants to give up that habit, a particular habit, in this case watching some adult site, easy for a person to. Again, takes time because we have to cultivate that higher taste, and it is possible that we give up the lower taste. This question is from Bala Ganesh. Bhagavad Gita 6.7 says, if one controls mind, super soul is already reached. What does it mean? No need to go to higher things about it like intelligence, soul, chittam is same as mind, where mind is located. Where mind is located, as I said, it's part of Sukshma Sharira. It is subtle. Mind is different from brain. Brain is the physical yantra, physical organ. Mind is Sukshma. You cannot, so to say, in that sense, localize the mind. This is the place where the mind is located. That's why it's called Sukshma. And the super soul is already achieved in the sense God realization, understanding of our true self, understanding of our relationship with the Lord becomes very, very obvious when the mind and the senses are controlled. For us to perceive the presence of the Lord in the heart, presence of super soul becomes very, very obvious and easy when we control the mind. What is the difference between thinking and having thoughts? If I have to answer this question, maybe I'll have to little bit reflect or ponder on this question. By and large, I feel both are the same things. Question is from Chandrasekhar. When I stop my senses from falling into illicit sex, it makes me do the same in my dreams. Am I breaking the regulative principles? What is a practical guidance like to give for me? Many things we do in our dreams is because of the subconscious mind. All the memories, all the vasanas, all the things which we have done in the past, which have got stored in the subconscious mind. So doing it consciously is more sinful. Doing it unconsciously in the dreams is less sinful because in one sense we don't have much control. It's because of what has happened in the past. Sometimes people have wet dreams because of the memories of the past. At least in the present, let's not consciously do. Not consciously break a principle. Because of the past conditioning, past habits, because of past memories, something happens. We pursue this path and slowly all the past impurities will get cleansed up. Main thing is we should not do consciously. Question is, does super soul accompany the individual soul while leaving the body? The answer is yes. The super soul always accompanies the soul irrespective of which body the soul goes to. That's how the Lord is always accompanying, is our well-wisher, is always there with us, although we may not be conscious of him. This question is from Anuradha Murli. Sometimes the wait is longer for good things to happen for me, but some do bad things and get what all they wanted. How to deal with such things? As I mentioned, we have to seek good association of devotees. We have to associate with the words which are given in the Gita, the sublime instructions. And acharyas, self-realized souls, they mention to us that there is something called as prayas and shreyas. Prayas means immediate pleasure, immediate result. And prayas, shreyas means you for the time being undertake some penance, some austerity, some self-control, but you will get pleasure in the future. For that matter, even our educational system, we may go to school, colleges, we may pay huge fees. Let's say a person wants to enroll for an MBA program, he has to study hard, 2 years, he has to work very hard. And after 2 years, he'll get the benefit of having done the MBA. So likewise, our scriptures say that when we ensue purification, we have to be patient. In fact, 3 qualities our scriptures say we should keep those 3 qualities, or we should practice those qualities. One is utsaha, we should be very enthusiastic. Dhairya, we should be patient. And nischaya, we should be determined. Enthusiasm, patience, and determination. Even if when we are treading this path, we make some mistakes, we don't get immediate success, we don't get immediate happiness, we should be patient. We should enthusiastically participate this, uh, uh, tread this path, knowing that this path is authorized, knowing that Krishna has told this. This is not some man-made knowledge. The Lord has said since time immemorial, this knowledge has been there, and many people have practiced this and have purified their lives. I will also get purified if I practice it sincerely. That should be the determination we should have. And while we practice this, we should be patient. This question is from Geeta Kapoor. How can we focus always in Krishna consciousness without any deviation? As I mentioned last time, one thing which we can do, which is within our control, we have to try our best to be very strict in our sadhana. Morning sadhana especially. Chanting, reading, hearing, engage in some kind of worship. And if we have engaged in good sadhana in the morning, by the blessings of the Lord, by the mercy of the Lord, there is a good possibility that we will be conscious of the Lord throughout the day. And even throughout the day, also, we might find some time intervals, let's say after the lunch time or in the evening, we can pick up a Gita or we can hear something to be in touch with this knowledge, in touch with the Lord. We can chant the names of the Lord. We can try. And over and above that, if it is difficult for us to do, we can pray to the Lord. We can beg the Lord, Krishna, I want to be conscious of you. I want to remember you. I don't want to forget you. Please bless me with that remembrance. Please make me conscious of you. We can offer the prayers. This question is from Sonu Kumar. I am suffering from extreme overthinking. How do I deal it with? I would strongly recommend that you can start chanting the names of the Lord, and while chanting, try your best not to chant mindlessly. Chanting can also be done very mechanically, ritualistically. There is a way of chanting with attention where the mind can get locked on the mantra which we are chanting. So when we learn that process, the technique, the right way to chant, automatically overthinking problem will get solved. Because what is overthinking means the attention is on thinking of so many things. So when we chant attentively and keep the mind on the mantra, automatic mind cannot be in 10 different places simultaneously. So when our attention is fixed on the mantra, we have learned the art, we have learned the technique, we have learned the process through guidance. That soulful japa sessions which we talked about last time, which is there on the YouTube, if you go through them, many of them are giving practical instructions how to keep our attention on the holy name. So when we do that, we can easily avoid problem of overthinking. This question is from Anuvanti. People don't regret for the hurts they do to us. Sometimes it feels so bad when we think about them. How to handle? We cannot control people beyond a point. We can wish, we can expect that people will be good to us, but people have different mentalities, people have different backgrounds, they have gone through different things. What is within us is how to respond to what people do to us. And that is possible to respond intelligently if we have the right knowledge with us, the right guidance from our scriptures, from the devotee. This question is from Venugopal Vipanjari. For bad thoughts, will we get punishment? It is said in Kali Yuga, only when bad thoughts translate into actions, then we get a reaction. By thinking in Kali Yuga, we don't get bad reaction. That's what we have read or heard. Chandrasekhar, this question is from Chandrasekhar. When I'm chanting, I think about my office work. When I do my office work, I think about spiritual activities like reading books, lectures, etc. In the beginning stages, yes, this do happen that at the chanting time we are thinking of something else, and while we are working we are having a guilt feeling that I am not thinking of Krishna, and so we are trying to crisscross, and you know so the soulful japa sessions is all about that. How while we are chanting, we are doing attentive chanting, mindful chanting. I would strongly recommend to go through those modules, through those videos, and learn the art of chanting attentively. This question is from Mahesh Garbarani. Are the devotees suffer more in materialistic aspects than others, so that they can indulge in Krishna consciousness in much better way than others? When the devotees practice spiritual life, the Lord takes charge of their lives. Again, proportionate to our surrender. And then a devotee may go through some suffering, some problems also. A devotee should then leave it to the Lord. If the Lord has sanctioned that suffering, he should take that suffering in stride and do the best he can to remember Lord and to be Krishna conscious. This question is from Raghav Maheshwari. How to increase our memory to remember more pastimes of the Lord? A very simple way is to read more and hear more about the Lord. When we read more, hear more about the Lord, the probability of we remembering them is much, much higher. And that is the recommended process. We chant more, read more, hear more. This question is from Manish Kumar. Someone we get stressed so much that we lose hope and motivation to work. Motivation does not last. Just like when we take a bath, it does not last. We get impure. That's how it's important that we get motivated again and again. That's why our scripture says, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Nityam, daily. Prabhupada used to criticize Bhagavad Sapta. Nothing wrong about hearing Bhagavatam, even if it's for 7 days. But if we have to have lasting purification, on a daily basis, on a regular basis, we have to hear. Otherwise, we will forget things. Just like you take bath 7 days continuously, and after that, for next 1 year, you don't take a bath, you'll start stinking. So likewise, on a daily basis, we have to motivate ourselves. How do we motivate ourselves? By associating with devotees who are motivated to practice spiritual life. This question is from Sunil Kumar. Why does mind sometimes have sattvic impulses and thoughts when you are not striving, and rajasic and tamasic impulses when mind wants to gravitate to sattvic thoughts? For any practicing devotee, there will be a battle, not a battle, I would say a struggle for him to always be in Sattva-guna and to be spiritually situated. That struggle is natural and one has to go through it. One cannot artificially reach a pure state, transcendental stage abruptly. He has to go through a process. There will be a struggle. There will be lower modes influencing, and sometimes tamoguna becomes very prominent. And he should remember the instructions of the Lord. He should chant the names of the Lord and try to come up. So we'll stop now. It's already 6:03. We are a little late today. Thank you very much for joining us. And it's a pleasure to have you with us today. And look forward to having you every Sunday with us in this Gita live session, which starts at 4:30 p.m. Hare Krishna.